I'm Margaret in Windsor, kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, given another name, my identity stolen, given the name of a twin. Both twins were dead, Peggy and Carl, murdered by their mother. They were illegitimate. I guess I can say that because I grew up and still have to use her name. And I've been called bastard, illegitimate. I didn't have a father. I lived a life that most people can't even conjure up or think of. The poverty, the filth, how they hated me. And I'm going to put this up. I have spent I started doing a book about mind control murders back 76. Lived at Treetop Apartments in Marietta. Worked for doctors Forsyth, Kuchar, and McCoy. And I put this up over the years. All the media knows it. All of them. They knew about my kidnapping in 41, my real name. My father's Edward VIII, who never married Wallace Simpson. She married a double and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Everybody knew it. My father was king. He was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Georgia O'Keefe's sister, baby sister. Georgia's the artist. My mom, a beautiful lady, and my father, who refused to go along with the Illuminati, take orders from the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. My own Uncle George was installed by the mafia, the global government, the Illuminati. Roosevelt appointed JFK's father ambassador to England in 1936 when my father became king. Joe Kennedy was kicked out in 1946. He helped in all this, the Kennedy clan. JFK actually flew in and out during 39 when I was born and 41 when he helped kidnap me. Well, he was in and out and even spoke before the British Parliament. Now, what a coup. The United States, with the help of the Illuminati, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, Kennedys, part of my own family, and Roosevelt's, pulled off a big coup. And yes, Elizabeth knows it, always has. They all have. Winston Churchill burned the Windsor files. Brought me over here, and what they've done to my sons, who are heirs after me, is so sick. The media won't touch it. They're controlled by the very people that did it to me, the Illuminati, the Rockefellers. I have put this up here. I didn't know about my kidnapping till 83. And I was flown out to Larry Flynt's, and I'm not going to get into what was done to me. You can't really. It's so... The FBI, I am going to say this. The FBI, I put this up. Who in the heck do you think's doing all this? You got MK Ultra. It was called before Congress. It was into mind control. Everybody in the states here living a good life. They're not going to accept the fact, anything else. It's their fault. It's exactly, put it where it is, on the media's fault and the citizens of this country. That all this mess and the installation of the Illuminati as the global government, the UN, has come to be. And that's where it's at. I have put up here about the shooting of Larry Flynt, about that was in 78 while I was doing the book, living at Moonraker Apartments. Moonraker, the movie was made a couple of years later. The title of my book was MD, A License to Kill. Timothy Dalton did the movie A License to Kill a few years later. They're 007s. I moved from, while I was doing the book and Larry Flynt was shot, it was a program shooter. I've put up here about the Tesla files. They were stolen in 1930, and it included the deaths of Warren and Rosina Matthews in Terrell Mill Estates, Marietta, Georgia. Back in, I can't remember when they were killed, probably about early 70s. They were forensic pathologists, and they knew how deaths were made to appear of natural cause. And that's the Tesla files. You can create an illness or cure it. And that's what they've been doing. So you wouldn't need all the, you just make them tell about how you cure it, magnetic healing or whatever. It's hypnosis. You imagine. There's a process, of course, but the cure has always been there. They can make murders appear of natural cause, suicides like Robin Williams. He didn't kill himself. He was programmed to do what he did. And I'm going to stop here because Mary Welcome was one of them. She was an attorney in Atlanta representing Wayne Williams. I'd done the book and trying to get it published. I was running to the Atlanta Journal. I didn't know that Patty Hearst, the Hearst on the Atlanta Journal, for God's sake. Well, I wouldn't have thought much of it anyway. I didn't know they were connected to me because I didn't know my real name. The Hearsts are part. Hearst Castle, Hearst, this news media is part of this whole mess. So they helped kidnap me and the Sinatras and your mafia. So Patty Hearst was kidnapped. By the way, that's going to be on TV. They won't tell anything about this either, about me. Oh, no, about what you did to my kids, my country, my mom and dad. I had a letter from the FBI. I'd moved a couple of blocks up on Bentley Drive in Marietta, the 8th of May of '79. And I had a letter from U.S. Attorney William Harper, ongoing investigation, national security involved. I thought it was because of the book, and later I found out in '83 when I'm flown out to Larry Flynt's to replace one of the doctors I wrote about, Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald, who went down in the KAL plane en route from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea. They took down a whole plane to get rid of Larry McDonald. I'm not sure he went down in it, but that's what history tells you. Okay, former President Richard Nixon was on that flight. They took him off just before it left Juneau. So they knew it was going down. Now I'm going back to, that was in '83, and I'm flown out to Flynt's. And Flynt had did an article they did, endorsement in '84. And he stated in the endorsement, I knew who was responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville. And it was Larry McDonald, and he and Gonzalez, Parkland, here comes the Parkland. He was there when JFK was brought in '63. So I put all this up. I can't put it up here again. I'm not laying all this out. I'm just going to leave it here. The FBI had another letter from them that was handwritten in red from an Agent Guess, Marietta, Georgia. I went to him first, or at least I thought that was the first one and it was satellite office. I had to climb up these stairs, go around the back side, climb up. It was getting dark, I remember. And I talked to him, and he issued me a handwritten letter from himself. About the time I moved into Laurelwood from Moonraker. Ongoing investigation, national security involved is what the letter said from the FBI issued through William Harper, the U.S. Attorney. But getting the personal letter from Agent Guest is quite unusual in red ink. This whole thing has centered around kidnapping me, taking down my dad, my country, what you sick Americans have done to my sons. Sick in the word for it. And here I'm trying to tell you, remember, I didn't find out about my kidnapping till after the campaign. I'll go ahead and say it. British intelligence, God help us. The Brits have been through hell. Larry Flynt's limo driver was with British intelligence. Thank you, Great Britain, for not forgetting me. At least the government there didn't. And the people. It's just been of late that there's so much influx there, and that was what this is all about, taking down the British Empire. Now, what's that got to do with mind control? I've just told you over and over. Go back to Mary Welcome. She was the black attorney in when I was almost killed, April Fool Day of '80. You had I can't remember his name now. Anyway, you get Martin Luther King involved with Kennedy and trying to take down the UK, South Africa. You get what Martin Luther King helped, and Mrs. King knew that was going on with me and helping do it to me. You get Reverend Andrew Young, who was with Martin Luther King when he was shot. Now, this is in 1980, and I'm trying to think of the mayor that went, and he was with the police commissioner, Lee Brown, who went on to become mayor of Houston and police commissioner 3 or 4 times. Then he went on as drug czar under the Clintons. How's that? Presidency. That's a trail there. Okay, back to about 1980, just before they almost killed me again. But I was trying to think, Maynard Jackson was the mayor, and he and Lee Brown went on ABC Morning and said that Wayne Williams didn't commit the murders there. And I'd been telling they were mind control murders. Those had just started. And tried to get the book published, running around to Patty Hearst. I had no idea that her family was involved in my kidnapping. I didn't know who I was at that time. And nobody's listening to me. They're afraid of it. But anyway, they went on ABC and said Wayne didn't commit the murders. It was the mechanism used. Well, it wasn't. How many months after then, they arrested him, they tried him, convicted him, he's in state prison. These were mind control murders. And I am going to stop here because they're using the mental health system, which I wrote about. These people aren't mentally ill. When you call the man that down in Parkland, Florida, all the dirty names, this young man, Cruz, he was programmed. He didn't know it. How would he know it? If he'd gone to someone, they would have locked to him, called him crazy anyway. So all I had, Paddock, let's go back to Mr. Paddock in Las Vegas. And I'm jumping around, I guess, because it's night and I've just listened to the media destroy the FBI and all this. Who do you think is a part of all this? The media. Who do you think has been committing these mind control murders? I've been telling you, all you have to do is go, and I live in fear of a moment somebody's going to knock on my door, because it's just that easy. Now, I've been called names. I've given up information on here that everybody should know it if they care. So what are you going to do? The only way this is going to be told is if the people who I've told you are doing the mind control murders, and this is mass, you can mass armies, they'll have to be the ones that tell it. And you're calling them names now? It's the Americans that are at fault. It's the American media. And you say, God bless America? He gave you every chance in the world. And look what you've done with it. You're living so good, you don't have time. You don't need me telling you all this. You could Google MK Ultra and mind control. But watch it when you're going after the people you're going after now because of the Parkland. Blaming them because you've been told. I've told you over and over the last years. YouTube, Facebook, all the media knows about my kidnapping. They did before me. They know about the mind control murders.